So it's giving you it's giving you a rational number working with an irrational number. And then from there, like, you have to work backwards. And if you know, then that's not the important part. But you can use, so then if, like, from that 0, 0, 0 point, somehow you can send out if you could theoretically send out a beam that, like, of a measurable radiation that's going all degrees in a sphere outward. You would know its position here, and at the same, you wouldn't be able. I don't know how you would. It's triangulation then to determine the undetermined there. Oh shit! I just thought of it. So, like, you sphere a cube, and then, which is touching those 8 points, and then in that same thing, you cube around a smaller sphere. So, like, so that smaller sphere inside the cube is touching 6 distinct points, where, like, the wall of the utmost, there's absolutely no space conceptually between what the sphere is touching on the inside, the surface area of the 6 sides of a cube. And then if you have the 0, 0, 0 point inside of that, you have all sorts of measurable things. And just by the nature of those shapes, one might be able to one could fathomably predict or speculate how you can, because, like, the prime number specificity of one of those 8 points in the cube is just like, think of Russian dolls. Like, that's how cubes would be topped on top of each other. If something is going out at a calculable rate, which, you know, light travels at 9.8 something. That's why it's a light year and not a distance. It can travel this approximated. I don't know if it's an exact number. I don't know, but I know, like, that's the measurable thing. That's the constant. It's like the radius. That's how your measurement would be based on the years, a light year, like, or whatever radiation you're using. I don't know if it's visible light travels at that rate or all light. Gamma might go fast. I don't know, faster than infrared. But, like, all radiation, the 7 primary colors, Roy G. Biv, is inverse of the 7 spectrums and visible as, like, composition itself, and, like, 8 were comprised of all of them. It's like the 7 radiations in, like, their, you know, X-ray, infrared, ultraviolet, onto gamma. It's reflected in the bent light. So, like, you can bend that light, but if you're not doing anything to its light spectrum quality, you're just bending how you're seeing it. It's showing you its composition. You're not making it hotter or colder. You're moving any different. You're stretching out its visual wavelength. And you're not doing anything to, like, with the intensity of that light. But from that, you can expect, like, if you ran the cube, the square root, the square and the cube functions for those points, which are distinct places around the sphere, or in the sphere, or in the cube in the sphere in the cube. Like, one can anticipate certain things culminating or, you know, lingering, residing. Like, how does the outer limit of light stretch from its source? Like, once that light ends from its source, it's just constantly traveling. It's like the last photon, like, it's both dead space, but now this part of dead space has, like, the resonance of arrested photon, arrested of volition to go any farther, or being compelled to go any farther from however light travels. But those photons don't go, what do they dissipate into? Their constituent, black space, that is dark void space. But like, and then what happened? Like, it's like meeting something directly versus. If like think of like an atomic membrane isn't like a pulp, like a rind. It's just where the magnet, where like the electromagnetic field no longer retains the power of its hold, or all of its hold, or any of its hold upon the particles that it is defining with that same thing. It's based on number of protons, number of neutrons, and that's why things can share electrons. Like they can exist on the fringe or find themselves like attracted between fringe borders. It's like not colliding through, but rubbing up against, and twirling osmosis goes into this plane of thing. I'm not saying that's how it works, but it's like you have to bend your mind to not think of it as the same thing, because they're different things. How they're different, I don't know, but you can anticipate like the wall where like that cube, that you circumvented the cube, and then now that cube is containing that same cubed sphere, a different cubed sphere. The wall points that you would be able to predict either a new field parameter, like it's containing itself, the parameters is containing itself differently, or it's traveling alongside twisting number, but number has a physical quality. So then that one containing would have to do with so using like coordinates can be negative or positive. That's why. So let's say your point is 0, 0 minus x minus, so 0 minus -1. If x is -2, because you got to think of it kind of like individual species rivalry. So it's like evolution gives trait that both clashes with its strength. So there's a prime and a subprime. A lion's prime is its size. It's directly related to size, but then eventually that's not the whole factor, but it's some of the factor. The subprime would be the answer to what it makes him so good for being the strong thing, so that he wins the warm climate. This thing has better survival mechanism over a long stretch because it didn't enter into something. It had to contend in different ways or in more diverse ways to still survive. So it's like a negative thing would be a subprime, but ultimately, like over long zoology, subprime becomes prime in spectrum. They're no longer at odds with each other. They both adapt in different binaries, which catch along long, grapevines of spectrum kind of analysis. Spectrums colliding with spectrums. They're the same sociology, but to an optimist, to a pessimist, one becomes Oppenheimer. Just this thing that's trying to reconcile the two dualities, but is directly related in both. One becomes Dahmer, one becomes Oppenheimer, which wouldn't want this thing to be like that, but our shitty society affords for these things and the plastics people eat. But then he helped make the bomb that he's then sorry that he helped make. And then the other one's like some philanthropist. So that's how all of them have like an intensity of